Probably not. So I think let's welcome the panel on stage. Joining me on stage, we have Emma Banks, who is the VP for F&B Strategy and Development, Hilton EMEA. Big round of applause for Emma, please. Next is Paul Briguet, Chief Operating Officer, Rove Hotels. Again, thank you, Paul. James Hewitson, Cluster General Manager, Anantara Minor Hotels. And last but not least, we have Elena Kizika, Senior Director Strategy, Global Hotel Alliance. While they get the stage ready, it's probably worth I actually ask Elena to introduce how many of us know what's Global Hotel Alliance? Elena, could you just take 2 minutes to talk about what the Alliance does?
Absolutely. For those of you who is not aware that Global Hotel Alliance is, we are a unique organization based here in Dubai. We are the world's largest alliance of independent hotel brands. We bring together 800 hotels through 40 beautiful hotel brands. And some of them are today on the stage. It's Anantara, some in the room, Kempinski Hotels, NH, and many others, JA, Nikki Beach, Avani, Oaks, just in this beautiful city in Dubai. We are also a creator of a loyalty program called JHA Discovery, and together with our partners, hotel brands, we deliver it to our hotel guests, to 25 million members. So this is the organization I represent today, and thank you very much for having me, Radhika.
Everybody seated well? Thank you, comfortable? So, does sustainability drive profits, and especially to a commercial audience? So I do anticipate there are going to be a lot of questions at the end, but to begin with, and to do justice to the topic, I do want to ask, we have diverse panel here. We have Hilton, we have Rove Budget Hotels, we have Minor, luxury branded, and we have Alliance. So in your perspective, does sustainability drive profits? Do you see sustainable investment driving profits? And Paul, because you're next to me, the challenges with budget hotels, I understand. I hope not. Why don't you demystify that for us?
Thanks. Firstly, I think we'd probably not be the budget end, we'd probably be more in the middle. We're okay with that, it's fine. But it's a challenge, right? Because we want to make sure we have to protect our bottom line. And I think, we work Thanks so much. So we work on a $100 room rate. So every dirham for us counts. And I think, our approach to this, and we had a very interesting chat before the panel, but our approach to this is to make sure we have a win-win-win. So win for the guest. We're all here to look after our guests, and they have to come first. A win for the business, either increased revenue or cost saving, and a win for the planet, and a win for sustainability. I'll give an example if I can. Typically in our kind of hotels, you have a big buffet for breakfast. You'll have hot foods out for 400 people. We take all the hot food off, and we'll serve plated hot breakfast. And that wins because nobody wants to have 4-hour-old scrambled egg. So there's a small example, but I think absolutely it's a win.
Perfect. And Emma, would you agree to that? What's your response to F&B and?
Whether sustainability drives profits? Yes, of course. I think the first thing to realise is actually at the end of the day, consumers will vote with their feet. And we know that consumers are looking for companies that are operating with fact-based integrity and accountability and have the results, stats and data to back anything up. We also know that 8 out of 10 global leisure travellers are now saying that sustainability is essential, not a requirement or desirable. So ultimately, it's about what your customers, your bookers, your consumers, your guests are looking for. sustainability can drive profit from a commercial perspective, and I can just rattle off a list of, it fosters consumer loyalty, it drives cost efficiencies, it enhances brand value as a differentiator because we know customers are looking for it. It attracts investment because we know investors are looking to invest in more sustainable businesses. In Hilton, we've been around 104 years. We're very committed to our sustainability strategy because we want to be around for another 104 years. It positions companies for long-term success because whether you like it or not, you need to have a sustainable strategy, and you need to start now because you might as well lean into it because legislation will force you at some point, or regulation will. And also, I think companies need to have sustainability and purpose at their heart and in their culture so that, it's something that everybody engages around and you don't waste time. Because the problem is that if you don't have sustainability and purpose in your culture and operate on data and facts, you can waste a lot of time. You could even get trapped into greenwashing and focus on the wrong things, and then you create cynicism and apathy. So I think the key thing is ultimately it's what your guests want, it's what your consumers want, and also it's what your next generation of workforce want, because we know that the younger workforce now want to work for companies that have a great purpose, great culture, and operate strong, robust, transparent ESG strategies. So unless you want to turn over loads of staff and lose all your customers, you'll have no profits if you don't have a sustainability strategy, would be my answer to that.
Thank you. It's the overall impact that you get from sustainability.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get into actual facts on how it can reduce costs or drive profit.
Correct. And James, over to you. How is it at Anantara the Palm?
I think being on property, KPIs started containing sustainability targets, I think for us, 8-9 years ago only. So it's been a relatively short time having those KPIs, and gradually the weightage of those KPIs have got bigger and bigger and bigger. So we've had to focus on it if we want to deliver our KPIs. And then you look at the opportunities with efficiencies and how that can help you drive the other KPIs as well. So we've worked particularly hard on that. And then we're obviously selling these ideas to owners as well, who are going to invest back into the property through CapEx. And they don't want to put money in just for a good cause. They want to see what the benefit will be to the business as well as being sustainable. So you have to sell it on two fronts from an investment point of view, but also what the return will be on these actions that we're doing. So the culture has definitely shifted in the last 10 years to be more and more prominent. And certainly as a GM of a single property, we have to drive that culture in the hotel because actually when you talk to the team, they actually do care about being sustainable. They want to know how they can contribute more. And when you give them the platform to be able to contribute different ways, segregating waste and things like this, they're actually very keen to do it. And they get on board very quickly. And I've been really impressed to see how the team have really got engaged in particularly what they can do to contribute to our sustainability targets.
Awesome. And what's your opinion, Elena, from an Alliance perspective?
I think GHA Discovery is our core product. And to answer your question on profitability, it's important to remind ourselves what purpose loyalty programs have. And this purpose, loyalty programs have many objectives, but one of them is to drive repeat business. And to do that, we need to engage or keep our customers engaged. I'm proud to say that GHA Discovery is co-created by our loyalty members. So we continuously run surveys, focus groups. We ask our members and hotel guests what they want to see in the program, and sustainability is increasingly important to them. So for this reason, in the past 2 years, we introduced 3 programs. We unfortunately don't have enough time to talk about all of them, although they're very close to my heart and to heart of everyone in the Alliance. So I'll just call them by name. Live Local is one of the core pillars of our loyalty program, is Donate Discovery Dollars, where members can contribute to community work and philanthropy supported by our hotel brands, but also Green Collection. And Green Collection is a collection of hotels in our portfolio. For instance, Anantara on the Palm is one of them, and we have Kempinski Mall of the Emirates, GA, and so many others. So they are pioneers in sustainable practices. So to answer the question on numbers, we've seen that by the end of Q3, although only 26% of our hotels are part of Green Collection, by the end of Q3, 45% of total revenues were generated in these hotels. So we also have seen that our members are ready to spend more. They also see that they are staying longer. So I think the correlation is absolutely there. Perhaps we cannot see it immediately, but for sure in the long run.
Amazing. So customers are asking for it, and you're seeing that with how they say it with their wallet. And speaking of customers and how we market it to them, now this is a challenging question, I suppose, for some of on the board here, to understand greenwashing. And for someone who doesn't know what greenwashing is, does everyone know? Otherwise, I don't need to do 2 minutes on greenwashing. If not, look it up. It's a good term to know on sustainability. Now, greenwashing is a threat. When I say it's a threat, it's a threat to true sustainability, because you're over-claiming than what the reality on the ground is to your customer. So as brands here, as champion of brands and as leaders leading from the front, how do you overcome greenwashing? James, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, if you benchmark with Green Growth 2050, so they come and audit the hotel every year.
And that's a certification program.
Yes, so they'll come and certify the hotel. They spend 3 days certifying the hotel. They look at all the practices. So anything you want to announce to the market in terms of PR, they're verifying as well to make sure that's actually going on. And you get given a score and a rating. So I think more platforms like that we can use to verify that are regulated and confirmed really helps. You know, and as a brand, we use Green Growth 2050, but there's many of these companies out there, and if you select the right one, and then you can position, you know, your results accordingly, and avoid being accused of greenwashing any numbers or any statements.
And is that an industry standard? Do all hotels get green certified?
So we use Green Key. But I think it's a really interesting subject. There's probably over 100 different bodies that will certify hotels for being green. So there's a real risk of, you know, how do consumers know whether a Rove having a Green Key or your property having your accreditation, how do they know the difference, right? So I think moving forward, as you see, you know, governments and organisations like the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance, I think bringing industry together will be the future. And I think Dubai's done a great step with the tourism stamp. I think there'll obviously be some learnings in the process, but I think they've done a really great job with that. And I think we need to see more collaboration and kind of one version of the truth.
Awesome. And Emma, how do you stay in line?
Yeah, well, I think... Sorry, can you hear me? Yes, sorry, apologies. I think greenwashing is really very, very dangerous for two points. First of all, you know, if a company is perceived as greenwashing, you know, it can be incredibly brand damaging, you know, and destroy a business. But also, greenwashing can be very dangerous at whole because it can create a lack of trust and mistrust and apathy, which then leads to cynicism. And frankly, you know, the sustainability and the climate conversation needs to be the main conversation, and it needs to be a positive dialogue. So we need people to be positive and realize that, you know, we can all collaborate and we can all contribute. So, you know, we need to avoid mistrust and cynicism and apathy because there is no time to waste, as I say. In terms of Hilton, which I'm representing here today, so Hilton was the first global hospitality company in 2018 to sign up to science-based fact goals, in line also with the Paris Agreement. Hilton, at the moment, we have our ESG strategy, which is housed under a platform which Travel with Purpose, where we are committed to ensure that our guests and owners and indeed our team members can you know, continue to enjoy the wonderful tourism and hotspots that we operate in and the communities in which we operate and serve in around the world. Part of our Travel with Purpose strategy is that we have now got, we haven't committed to a net zero future by a specific date, but what we have done is we have committed to science-based targets to achieve a net zero future. So we are all working on a journey. I think what's also very important is that we have light stay, which all the hotels have and can house our ESG initiatives, so our guests can see all the ESG initiatives that the hotels are carrying out, and indeed guests can, through meetings calculator, calculate the carbon impact of their stay or their meetings held in hotels. So, I mean, there are other accreditations in the field that I work in, which is food and drink. We work, you know, you can work with things such as Fair Trade, Red Tractor, you know, you can ensure that you've got MSC, ASC seafood. So in the remit of food and drink, there's a lot of areas that hotels can engage and operate in as well. But ultimately, Hilton, everything is housed under our Travel with Purpose strategy and is totally transparent on our Light Stay award-winning platform.
And it's brilliant that you have a bigger vision, but the things about fair trade and some of the ones, are they mandated to hotels?
The what, sorry?
When you talk about having fair trade or sustainability sourced, is that mandated?
In the remit of EMEA in food and drink, yes, there are certain things that are mandated, such as through brand standards. So, for example, it is a brand standard in Hilton for every hotel to record its food waste and record it in Lightstay, our ESG tracker. So every hotel has to, as a brand standard, record its food waste. So, I mean, my team, and, you know, if we get into the chance of talking about how much further we've taken that, you know, for example, I think we're at something like over 200 of our managed properties in EMEA now actually have Winnow installed in their properties, you know, and we can get into talking about our results from our Green Ramadan trial with Winnow, where we reduced food waste by 61% in our trial hotels, and we're currently undergoing a huge UAE pilot, which we'll announce on the 7th of December, the results of our food waste trial in our breakfast restaurants. So ultimately, recording food waste is mandated as a brand standard, and it is Hilton's expectation that every hotel globally has a kitchen wastage strategy in place.
Thank you. Elena, greenwashing?
Well, I think I can agree with everyone, with my colleagues on the stage, that greenwashing is absolutely unethical and can be very misleading for investors and for our hotel guests. So for Global Hotel Alliance, there are two things that are in our DNA. So one is transparency, and another one is collaboration. And when we talk about transparency, it's about us delivering the program in a very clear and simple manner, so our members understand how we reward and recognize them. The same goes for sustainability initiatives that I briefly introduced today. So our program members and hotel guests can easily find enough information on our channels. And if they would like to know more, they can either address their questions of hotels directly or also find information on our channels. In terms of collaboration, we are an alliance of very different brands, and you can only imagine how many knowledge we have in the alliance. 40 brands, 800 hotels, 100 countries, and each country comes with different regulations, different approaches, different policies, very similar challenges, I guess, for everyone. And we are proud to say that we share our knowledge in the alliance. We facilitate a lot of conversations. We also work with a lot of certifications, and I think by now we work with nearly 20. I know that sometimes we are asked, are they labels? Are they serious? I think there are different labels, and each hotel can, as I think James said, can define which label they want to work with. So we work, or our hotels work, we focused to form Green Collection on certifications that are internationally recognized, and the ones that focus on 4 areas. So reduction of negative impact on the environment, contribution to local communities, cultural heritage, and also wildlife.
Correct. No, thank you. And talking of challenges, actually, I think one question I have is, look, I have my own challenges with sustainability, and I'm sure everybody has their own challenges, but it'll be interesting to hear from the panel, what challenges do you have to drive sustainability in the region at your hotels? Paul?
For me, I think Emma touched on it earlier. I think in this region and in hospitality in general, we have a high turnover of staff, and I think it's great having the actions we've talked about, but if we're not constantly educating our team, we're not constantly updating our ways of working, we're not making sure that 100% of our properties are doing the right thing, there's a real risk that we, at corporate level or maybe at one property level, we do the right thing, but I think there's a real risk it's not executed on the ground, and if the guys in the kitchen don't know the importance of the food waste, then we have a problem. It's great having LED lights, but if you don't turn them off back of house when you're finished, then you're kind of defeating the purpose. So I think for me, I think the team at all levels is really a focus.
Team engagement, yes.
We're talking about the challenges, not the opportunities, just the challenges. Okay, so in terms of, I think the hospitality industry has a big challenge around sustainability because we are totally intensive operations. We're labor intensive, we're energy intensive, water intensive, we're transportation intensive, we create waste, we generate waste. So, we have to lean in to a circular economy rather than a linear economy where, we take, make and waste. So, and it's particularly challenging for us because we are really, an intensive operation in hospitality. So, leaning in and embracing sustainability is absolutely necessary for us to address these challenges. And I'm going to talk about food and drink because that's the business I operate in. It's a huge business across EMEA, and the food industry, I don't know if everybody in the audience is aware, but the food industry, the total food industry contributes 30% of total carbon emissions globally. Okay, so if food waste alone was a country, it would be the 3rd biggest emitter in the world of global carbon emissions. We contribute. It's $1 trillion problem, and also food waste alone is contributing 1.3 billion tons of waste to landfill. So it's a real big problem, and it's a big problem in the hospitality industry. So, we have to look at, how we source responsibly and ethically, how we, use our produce, how we avoid waste, and how, we also look at how reducing our total carbon emissions, because the challenges are, increased security costs, increased wastage, increased carbon emissions, increase to landfill, consumer perceptions around your sustainability and your operating procedures. So there are a lot of challenges, but when we get onto it, I'm a true believer, and all those challenges, there is a whole raft of opportunities there, and my team, I'm so proud to say, over the last 5 years, is we've made some really huge steps to address those challenges, which I'm sure we'll get around to talking about.
Of course, and I think it's a good point to say, along with challenges, what's the opportunity you see? What's the opportunity? I think all of these challenges convert into opportunities,
yes.
Right? So
the opportunities
yeah.
about the, well, I think, first of all, I think you have to be very clear as to, what Paul said earlier is, you need to be laser focused on what you're going to, you need the data, you need the insights. So for us, we look at, we have a local sourcing strategy in key markets. And, for example, 2 years ago in the UAE here, we were pretty much sourcing locally, 0%. Now, the basket in our UAE hotels now is 37%. In 2 years, we have focused and we've moved to procuring 700 tons locally at a cost-neutral impact because we have the volume to negotiate that. And as a result of that, we now have, supported the communities we operate in, and the local farmers and other smaller entities can enjoy those improved prices. Food wastage, we now have a very, very robust strategy around food waste across all of our hotels in EMEA. We measure it, we have the data, but I suppose you could say, for example, we've just done, as I mentioned before, a green breakfast trial. And the reason we chose breakfast in the UAE with the lead to COP28 is it's the most unifying meal period in any hotel. And in the 13 hotels, the UAE hotels, where we've worked with Winnow, where we've used their AI technology, where we're looking at production waste in kitchens and plate waste in the kitchens, in the restaurants, we are about to release our results on the 7th of December, but in 13 weeks to baseline, from baseline to now, the results are absolutely staggering. I actually believe that they're going to blow this industry up around how we do buffet operations. So, I think local sourcing, climate smart carbon labeling, food wastage strategies, team training, these are all huge opportunities. Teach team training chefs on sustainable gastronomy practices, hydroponic farming. There's so much.
So much. It's true.
Yeah, to give you sort of a live example, as we got through COVID, sustainability kind of went out the window as we all tried to protect each other and stay safe. And I remember when we were coming out of it, the team said to me, now that we've all forgotten about sustainability, what are we going to do about it? And I said, well, on property, it's either managing energy, which can be about technology and working with the engineers, but then waste is the big ticket that we can all impact on property. So we used to recycle, or 95% of our waste was going to landfill 3 years ago. And today, we're getting, 70% of our waste is being recycled. So to achieve that, you need support from owners. So you need water bottling plants, you reduce your plastic water bottles to zero, a food digester, so you help turn your food waste into water, that goes into irrigation, and that keeps the circle going. But then it's the education, the culture, working with a team to segregate everything. Your pickups, your garbage pickups, 6 days a week, we reduce that to 3 times a week. Because you've got less things being picked up. So working with suppliers, the coffee supplier for the coffee pods in the room, they can't recycle the coffee pods. Okay, we find a coffee supplier who can, who says, I'll take them back, I'll recycle them, and I'll bring them back to you, and we'll use them again. So then you find suppliers you can work with. So there's a whole combination of opportunities created by the challenges you've got, where you've got everything going to landfill. So how do you reduce that to zero? And you have to work, whether it's technology, whether it's with suppliers, but most importantly, the educating of your team and driving that culture on property.
Awesome. Really wonderful numbers. And it's so heartwarming when you hear these amazing numbers and anecdotes coming in, right? And I think if there are any more non-believers in the room, it's probably time for you to ask any questions on this. Anything on sustainability here? We have such a wonderful panel, and they're living examples of driving it in UAE. And any challenges, any questions that you have, please feel free to use your app to ask the questions so we can take it on board with the team. Elena, on you?
Well, I think in the interest of time, I can just give a couple of examples of how at Global Hotel Alliance, our brands and we in the corporate office transform challenges into opportunities. So one of them is, I already said before, is information sharing, so partnerships. We are a distribution platform, we are marketing and tech organization, we are not experts in sustainability, but because of our partnerships with advisories and our hotels, we are able to share our knowledge in the lines, which is great. So another one is, of course, engagement with our end consumers, program members and hotel guests. So I told you about their passion when it comes to sustainability, they wanted us to help them identify sustainable properties in our program, which we've done. So we will be seeing their engagement, repeat stays, and then revenue. And last but not least, as everyone mentioned already, it's so important to show that values of our employees are very close to our mind. And many hotels and brands do that as well. We at Global Hotel Alliance in our corporate office in Dubai decided to go through our own certification because we have done a lot of things from heart, but not very well structured. So we are working with EarthCheck now for the second month, collecting the data. We learned so much about the passion of our employees. 15% of our team in the corporate office are part of the green team, and we have a queue, so everyone who wants to jump and work with us. We also understand our hotels so much better. We know it is a very complex process to start collecting the data, then understand what our benchmark is, and then continue improving all the time. So we understand our employees, we show our values, we share our values, but we also understand the hotels in the lines who have such huge operation compared to us.
Oh, wow.
So just to add an opportunity, I think 1 in 8 people, I think, work in tourism or touch tourism in their work. And tourism makes up something like 8% of GDP in the world. And we're a really easy industry to understand, right? Apart from the commercial guys out here that do lots of techie stuff. But, you know, we make coffee, we make beds, right? So I think we have a massive opportunity in our line of work to kind of really lead this charge. And I just want to close on that I think, you know, it's great work that the colleagues are doing. I'm still learning, so thank you.
I think I've spent time with each one of you learning what you're doing, and I would really give kudos to all that we've come so far. I just have one question to the audience. RGI, everybody knows here, right? You live and breathe. There is a metric for sustainability. Can anyone tell me about it? Sustainability can be benchmarked. And I think it's time that we actually need commercial leaders to rise up and actually drive this game, because there is something called Cornell Hotel Sustainability Benchmark. And it's pretty much like your RGI, ARI, MPI. It can sit on the side and it can tell you how is sustainability benchmarked, and the hotels participating globally. Come and speak to us if you need to know more about it, but it exists. And it goes back to what the team was saying here about what is sustainability if it's not measured? Be it measuring of food waste, or be it measuring of all the waste in the hotel or the energies, everything in sustainability can be measured. And I think it's just, we need leaders like you. Operations is up on the game, but we need commercial teams now to actually rise up and start asking these questions. Start asking them, start including them. Look at it as much as you do your RGI. Give it that same importance, and once you bring it on the table, it'll become a norm. And that's sustainability. And if I was to summarize the panel, correct me again if I'm wrong, it seems like sustainability is profitable. You just need to find and figure out the right structure in terms of how do you get different parties benefit from the strategy. And I think we've heard about team engagement, we've heard about working with owners, we've heard about working with customers and how to get that. And again, the different strategies out there. So with that, I think I've asked enough questions of the panel. If there's anything else, does anyone have a concluding statement, please? All good?
No,
We
I
do
just have to say, I'm sorry, I'm here at Food and Drink, but I know I've got some of my Hilton commercial colleagues here, and they'd probably kill me if I don't mention Digital Key and how that's saved 92 tons of plastic since it was launched. So Digital Key actually is really important to some of our customers and obviously drives our travel with purpose strategy as well. It's a rooms business. I'm here with the rooms team anyway, so thought I'd mention Digital Key.
Awesome. Look, I know we're up for time, which is why I'm trying to wrap it up quickly, but anything else? Thank you so much, Emma. Anything else, Paul?
I think my biggest lesson was, or has been, be focused on what you're doing. Start somewhere, start small. and you can have a big impact.
Closing remarks from you, James?
I think still plenty to learn. Got to keep learning, keep growing, and seeing what we can achieve. And it's going to be, it's Anantara, we say in Sanskrit, means without end. And I think sustainability is without end, and we just need to keep driving at it.
Optimism.
I think from my side, I always say that there is no competition in sustainability. And while we sometimes work for different and competing brands, and sometimes we compete for the same customer, in sustainability there should not be competition. We really should share our practices and celebrate our achievements.
I think collaboration is key. And if there's one thing, hearing stories from you without in a collaborative way today was really telling me that. I do have one poll. If everybody in the audience can bring your phones up, please, on your app. We do have a good poll coming up on the question of sustainability. Is that working?
It absolutely is. Thank you, Radhika, and the panel. The team in the room are going to be answering your poll now. But while they're doing that, there have been some questions in the app for the panel. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask just one, perhaps two questions. The first question from the room, and it's actually come up multiple times, so I'm consolidating it into one question, is really around, does anyone on the panel have an example of how they could share a best practice in how to communicate, market, or at least engage with their customers about some of the wonderful initiatives they might be working on?
I would leave that open question.
What was it? Communicate, market, and
Engage with customers to share some of the information that they have on their sustainability initiatives.
I'll take that
You
one.
take that
Yeah. I mean, the website obviously is the first portal a lot of people go to, so having a dedicated sustainability page on that and updating all the initiatives that you're doing and the amount of things that you're saving and the progress you're making is definitely one way. In the guest questionnaire, when they depart, asking, do they find the hotel sustainable, and do they see sustainable efforts going on? You get an idea and you get feedback on that as well. How transparent we are with things like that, so that gives you initiatives to work on too. So, your front door is where you need to sort of hang some metrics of how you're doing and keep communicating that and keep updating that so people can see. And then when they come to the property, they can see the relevance between what you're saying online and what you're actually doing. And as long as they see it happening in front of them, then they'll see you as credible.
And just to add, I think the last part's super important because I think people will find out regardless now. I mean, there's no hiding, right? So I think, guests will talk to your team and they'll find out your practices if you're greenwashing, which sometimes is innocent, to be fair. So I think just by doing the right thing, and I think the interested parties will find out what you're doing and certainly check up on it. But I think from my side, the only advice I would suggest is be very clear that, for us, we're always on a journey. So we're probably a 6 or a 7. We're aspiring to be a 10, but I think being clear that you're on a journey is pretty important as well.
yeah. And I'd say from a Hilton perspective, our meetings calculator on our light stay, which measures water, energy usage and waste, as well as the social activities, which then allows guests to see what their carbon footprint is and allows for us to promote sustainable travel. Also, I think things like the Green Badge on Booking.com, these are all opportunities to showcase what you're doing. It's a really busy space. If I look at food and drink and what we're doing so many initiatives, but it is really the art of telling the story, and to be honest, we stay consistently on our story of our local sourcing strategy and our food waste strategy, and the message from a communications and a marketing is is people, planet, purpose. And you just have to keep on people, planet, purpose, people, planet, because it's such a noisy space. Sustainability and doing the right thing is even more noisy than the arena of restaurants and bars and food and drink, if that's even possible in a city like Dubai, with so many. But so you have to stay on message, choose what your market, what your specialists, what your guests are looking for, what you've got a competitor edge in, and keep. And I listened to a journalist called Anna Turns, who's the lead environmental journalist for The Guardian, and she is very much about, we have to be positive, we have to tell positive stories and stay on, because the climate conversation is the biggest story. So
There's a growing eco-anxiety in the world.
Yeah.
And unless we stay positive as leaders,
Yeah.
I don't think you can infuse that
Yeah.
to your team. So here you said you had more questions. And do we
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we are out of
Out of
time,
time.
but your poll has closed, so we can bring the results of the poll up on screen just to wrap up the
was that?
session.
So the poll that we asked was, which departments have your highest sustainability spend? Actually, I'll ask the panel.
Do we have the poll?
Which departments in each of your hotels have the highest sustainability spend? A, engineering, B, marketing, C, whom did we have C? F&B, 4, rooms division.
We don't really look at it like that. I mean, all the activity we try to do in sustainability, our target is the minimum be cost neutral. And as I mentioned at the start, if we can protect the guest experience, look after the team, and not spend too much money at the end of the day, then we do the right thing for the planet.
yes, I mean, Hilton may measure it that way in terms of food and drink. We don't. But I know that Hilton always looks for a win-win with its customers, to represent its owners and its shareholders, its employees, but also its consumers, and support our travel with purpose strategy. Now, that's not always easy, but anything worth doing isn't. So, I don't know whether any particular department has the biggest spend. I think a lot of the initiatives, as the poll says, would be perceived to be the responsibility of engineering, but I think every department in the hotel can play its part.
I mean, we spend the same amount on utilities as we do on sales and marketing. So, in terms of spend as a percentage of the revenue. So I don't know whether that dictates who has a bigger impact on sustainability. But yes, I think again all the teams have a role to play. I don't think one plays a bigger part than the other. If we're all focused on it, then the result will come in the end.
I think I will have an answer you, Radhika, will like. So we at Global Hotel Alliance in our corporate office see sustainability as part of our business strategy. So it's with the strategy department, but a lot of financial support and management support comes from the CEO's office as well.
I think moving forward, every job should have sustainability. It's not about one department versus the other. It was to highlight, though, how the general perception is that we are still seen very much as engineering does sustainability, but I suppose it should be commercial. It should be every job role doing sustainability.
Thank you very much, panel. Thank you.